And if it really matters to you, people say, well, how do you find time to write? And I say, it's not finding time. You will never find time. Time will skitter away from you. You have to make time. So if it really matters to you, you need to make that time.
We'll talk about this and much more today. Welcome to a Writer's Day podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to a Writer's Day podcast. My name is Ruth Douthit, and I'm an award-winning, multi-published author of books for middle grade readers and adults in fiction and nonfiction. And I started a Writer's Day podcast for you because our days are different. Writers are constantly thinking about their next story. We're observing things around us, jotting down ideas, wondering if this incident that we just witnessed could fit into a book. So our days are different. So that's why I called it a Writer's Day podcast. So welcome. And if you like what you hear, please consider subscribing and following me and leave me a review. I would love to know what you think of today's episode. And head to my website at artbyruth.com to sign up for my newsletter, where you can learn more about me, my upcoming book projects and releases like The Secrets of Worthington Orphanage. This spooky ghost story is the prequel to my award-winning children's series, and it releases February 25th. So be sure and sign up for my newsletter to learn more about that book and to win a free copy of a book and more. artbyruth.com today. She is the best-selling author of When Twilight Breaks, Until Leaves Fall in Paris, and The Sound of Light. Sarah Sundin is here to talk with me today. She is a Christie Award-winning author and a Carol Award-winning author. Wow. And I'm honored to have her join me today to chat about her writing process, and she even takes some time to inspire us writers. So, you know the drill. Grab your favorite beverage, a comfortable chair, kick back and relax as we listen to prolific best-selling author Sarah Sundin talk about her new book. I'm so excited to be talking with best-selling author Sarah Sundin today. Welcome back, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Ruth.
Of course, I am a huge fan of World War II novels, and I always love your stories. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about your new book. But first, I don't think we've had an interview in about a year. So why don't you catch us up as to what you've been up to?
Well, I only write one book a year. So, yeah, it's been a busy year. So getting settled, we moved 2 years ago, so we're still getting settled in. And we have a 2-year-old grandson, so we're thoroughly enjoying him, watching him grow and develop, and so delightful. And yeah, it's just writing.
Fantastic. Has your writing process, changed over the years?
It's always a little different with each book. I'm an outliner. I have quite a procedure that I go through when I write my book. And most of that doesn't change, but every book, something's a little bit different. And so I've learned to go with that. And this year I discarded one of my steps and consolidated it. So yeah, a part of it was out of necessity because it's been there was a health crisis and a couple of deaths in the family during this year too. So there was a little bit less time to write the book. So I was kind of looking at my procedures going, can I get rid of it?
Adapt and overcome, right? We have
exactly.
to modify and adjust. Well, that's terrific. So I often wonder, what inspires a story with you? Or is it like your travels, or do you come across something interesting in your research?
Yes to everything. And each book is a little different. And this one was kind of a combination of my husband bugging me to write a story set in Scotland. And I have come across little facts of World War II in Scotland, enough to think, yeah, I might have a story there. And as I was mulling it over with my youngest son, who's always been kind of a brainstorming partner, he likes mythology. And he says, well, if you're doing Scotland, you should use some of the Scottish myths. I said, oh, so tell me more. And he told me about the legend of the Selkie. And as he was telling the story of this beautiful woman who looks like a seal at sea. But when she comes ashore, she sheds her sealskin, and men fall in love with her. But the only way they can keep her on land is to steal her sealskin and hide it. And if she ever finds that sealskin, she's going to leave him and go back to the
Hmm.
sea where she belongs. And so, as he's telling me the story, I'm mentally picturing a woman, a female spy
Mm.
landing in Scotland and being captured by a kilt wearing Scottish hero. And so that was the mental image. I still have that image, the beach, the rocky beach where she's landing. And so that was the image that started that story. And then it just grew from there. Like, what kind of woman would do that? And what kind of guy is going to she's a he thinks she's a Nazi spy, so he's going to turn her in knowing she'll be executed. So what kind of man will do that? So it was
Ooh,
playing with the characters and then building out the story from there.
that is fascinating. It's a good thing he shared with you that tidbit, huh?
I know, because that was the genesis of the story was the idea of using an uh, well, she isn't really a German spy.
Sure.
She's using the Germans to get a free ride to England, but of course things go awry. But I was able to use the MI5 double cross program where the British turned the German spies to be working for them and sending false and misleading information back to Germany. And I'd read bits and pieces about that enough to think that would be fun. And so it just kind of all flew together from there.
Well, now let's talk about Midnight on the Scottish Shore. Tell us about this story.
So Scylla van der Zee is in the Dutch resistance, and she gets herself in a bit of trouble, and she thinks she's going to be arrested. So she decides she needs to escape. And being a rather impulsive sort, she hears that they're recruiting Dutch people to be spies, and she thinks this is her ticket. So she signs up and volunteers and goes through her training thinking no problem. She's a great actress. She's just going to land in England and go live with her aunt and work for the Allies. No problem. But of course, things don't go as planned, and Lachlan catches her, turns her in. But then she becomes a double agent, and they send her to Scotland to report on ship sailings from Scapa Flow, the naval base. And they assign her navally as none other than Lachlan.
There you go. And of course, does romance happen or
Well, you have to see it. It does.
you
It's
have to read the
definitely,
book, right?
it's funny. I'm not a big fan of the trope of enemies to lovers because usually when I've seen it done, these people hate each other with good reason, and they're at each other's throats, and you think to yourselves, why on earth would these people ever fall in love? And then suddenly they fall in love, and it rarely rings true for me. But this is a true enemies to lovers. He thinks she is a British or German spy, and he is a naval officer. I mean, she is his enemy.
Mm.
He doesn't believe her when she says she's with the resistance, so he considers her his enemy. And for Scylla, Lachlan turned her in to be executed, so she wants nothing to do with him,
Mhm.
and she thinks he's pretty much a stick in the mud. So it really starts off as true enemies, and but as they work together, they start to see each other's, see what's behind that, um, what makes Lachlan tick, what makes Scylla tick. And as they get to know each other and as they come to trust each other, and start to believe each other, then that really clears away. And realizing that the part of that was enemies wasn't actually true. And so that's where romance can bloom.
Oh, so they might find some things they have in common.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they
There you go. And
might.
as the author, I think, was it fun for you to come up with ways that she could win him over?
It was, it was. Of course, she's not trying at first. And
Mm.
then as she does start to fall for him, she realizes that he could never fall for her because she starts to see herself for the first time in her life. She is an extrovert, very confident, very confident in her abilities, but she's never seen her own faults. And now, for the first time, she's seeing her faults. And as she does that, she's realizing that this man she really admires could never love her. How could he love somebody so impulsive, so rash, to do the types of things she's done? And so, as she admires, she doesn't try to win him over because she doesn't think that she's the right sort for him. So, it was fun. But the banter between them was a blast to write as they just spar with each other and feed off of each other, and I could barely keep up writing.
I bet that sounds fun. Well, now, as part of her job, she has to lie and
Oh
deceive.
yeah.
So, how
Yes.
did you, as a Christian author, and then how did you create a character who could justify those actions? Did you have some conflict there?
Yes, and the whole thing with the double cross program, it was built on deceit, and you're deceiving your enemy, and in this case they are literally deceiving the Nazis. So one could argue that there is a an ethical reason to do so, but it is on that fuzzy gray edge of when is it right to lie? And is it ever right to lie? And at the beginning of the story, Scylla has no problems with it. She just thinks it's fun. She's an actress. She's just playing her part. And she's coming up with all these stories and sub stories and characters and she just thinks it's all a blast. But as she grows during the story, she starts to have some ethical issues with it herself. And Lachlan from the start is opposed to it. You know, he is all by the rules. Lying is wrong. He's black and white. But through the story, he's starting to see that maybe, um, in a way, he is deceiving the enemy. They're camouflaging things on the base. So in a way, that's deceiving the enemy. They're not saying, "Hi, enemy, here are our ships. Come bomb them," which would technically be honest. So there are rules in warfare where you are naturally and appropriately trying to deceive the enemy. So in this case, where they're sending messages, um, which could save lives, is that ethical? So
Mm.
there's quite a bit of back and forth between them and in their hearts about what to do. And I think they both kind of come to a more balanced view over the course of the story.
It's not black and white, is it? Very gray areas.
Yeah, very, very few things are.
So it sounds like your characters are very layered and complex. So as you came up with their character traits, which traits in them do you admire the most?
Well, Scylla was fun. I am an introvert. I am probably the stick in the mud in the family. And she is just so fun loving and impulsive and bold, and she's not afraid to do anything. And so it's always fun for me to write a character who is not like me. It's easy to write a character who is like me, but it's fun to write somebody who's different. And then to imagine what it would be like to be such a person. Lachlan is more like me. I like security. I like things just so. I'm not a real stalwart law and order. Oh, I have to do things exactly the right way. I'm a little grayer than that, but I tend more to Lachlan's side. So there are many traits that I admire in him: that steadiness, that the heart that's behind that need for security of wanting to protect others. I think that's really beautiful. But I also just loved Scylla's zest for life. She's not afraid to try things. That's one thing that Lachlan comes to admire her. There's a big party for Hogmanay, which is New Year's Eve in Scotland, and she doesn't know the dances, and she's just out there dancing. And he admires that because he's the type of person who has to learn the steps first before he's going to do it. And so he's just admiring her ability just to get out there and try it. And if she fails, all well, she's had fun doing it. And so I admire that trait in her too.
Oh, that's great. Well, so you and your husband are part Scottish, right?
Yes.
And have you traveled there?
Yes, a couple times. We've been to Edinburgh a few times, and then in May we went up and saw all the locations that are in Midnight on the Scottish Shore. So we
Mm.
stayed in the town of Thurso at the very top tip of northern Scotland and saw Dunnet Head Lighthouse. You can't go inside, unfortunately, but we saw it from the outside,
Mm.
and it's just so rugged and breathtaking there. Just 300, the lighthouse, which is where Scylla is based. It's on 300-foot cliffs, and the
Wow.
seabirds flock there. They nest in the cliffs, and it's just spectacular. And then we took the ferry across to the Orkney Islands, which is where Scapa Flow is. And we took a ferry over to the where the naval base is, and went to the Scapa Flow Museum, and we just saw everything, and it was just lovely. And we had so much fun,
Mm.
and we ate haggis, and we tried all the local foods, and just had a wonderful time.
Oh, that sounds incredible. I've never been. I would like to go.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the
Mm,
places we were, most people go to Edinburgh, which is
yeah,
appropriate. It's
sure.
gorgeous. Or they go to Loch Ness. And we did go to Loch Ness on the way back down. And so there's certain places everybody goes. And the far northern regions of Scotland aren't as popular, though there's what they call it, the 500. It's a very popular drive. And
Mm.
we never heard of it before, but everywhere we went, people are saying, "Oh, are you doing the 500?" And at first we were like, "The what?" So, but it is this route that goes around northern Scotland to all these places that most people have never even heard of. And it's become extremely popular in Britain. And people come there just to drive the 500. And we
Mm.
actually did drive that, well, quite a bit of it, but just really very remote, very poorly, not very well populated. It's not what you think of as Scotland. It's not, rugged mountains and pine trees and that at all. It's very flat and very few trees, but these spectacular cliffs and the sea, it's just gorgeous.
It makes me want to go. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's
That's
beautiful.
incredible. That's definitely a bucket list trip. Well, so as Christian authors, we feel compelled to put themes in our stories that help inspire our readers or give them hope. So, what do you want readers to take away from Midnight on the Scottish Shore?
I think, yeah, first of all, I've learned that the readers take away what God wants them to take away.
Hmm.
And people will write me emails and say, "Oh, I just loved it when you said this and when the characters did this and really touched me." And I thought to myself, "Oh, wow. I never thought of that as being the main takeaway of the story, but it was for that person." And so part of it is just letting it go out there and seeing what God's going to do with it. But as I was writing, what was surfacing for me a lot was the nature of freedom. And Scylla, being who she is, thinks freedom is freedom from rules and freedom from restriction. She doesn't want anything to hold her back. And so here she is trapped literally in a lighthouse with guards, and she can't go anywhere without a guard. And for the she it drives her batty. And she has to learn to find internal freedom. And for Lachlan, who's always found freedom in security, the more rules, the more structure, the more walls, the better. That way he can have freedom because he feels safe and secure, and knowing that the people he loves are safe and secure. But he also has to find that freedom, that true freedom that we get only through Christ. And how much better that is. And as Scylla finds out, at the end, she comes to realize that even if she were imprisoned, and that is something that she's considering at the end, that what she's doing might end her, she might end up in prison. And even if she's in prison, she will still be free because she's free in Christ. And I just really love that progression for both of them. And we all do that. We're all looking for freedom. But what is that? What is that? Is it because we're free to do what we want to do? Or is it that we have all the rules in place that make us feel free? Or is it freedom in Christ that follows us no matter what the world looks like around us?
Well said. Well, so imagine you have a writer in front of you who might be struggling because you and I know writing can be a lot of hard work. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes life gets in the way, or just there's just
Oh, yeah.
obstacles and we want to give up. How would you, use your words to inspire a writer who might be struggling?
Oh, first I talk to them about the true nature of their struggle, because there's so many different types of struggles. Sometimes it's, you're a young mom and you've got little kids, and then it's like, okay, it's all right. this will pass. Write when you can, right during a nap time, right after the kids go to bed, right when they get older, right when they're in school. If you're work full time, right on your lunch break. I have a friend who lives in the East Bay and commutes to San Francisco, and he writes on BART when he's taking the train to work. So find those little spots. I used to write on the soccer field. My daughter was playing, and I look up, say, "Good shot, honey," and I go back to my writing. So you learn to carve out. And if it really matters to you, people say, "Well, how do you find time to write?" And I say, it's not finding time. You will never find time. Time will skitter away from you. You have to make time. So if it really matters to you, you need to make that time. So, and also if they were struggling with a different aspect of it, it would depend what they're struggling at. But I think that what I hear most is young women who are really struggling with the time. And yeah, honestly, when I started off when my kids were 1, 4, and 7, and, and I would write for
Wow.
15 minutes here, write for 15 minutes there, and I wrote my first whole book I wrote in 6 months, but that was just a little snippets here and there because the story was driving me so much. So you can, if you really want to, you will make the time, and it does mean training your family. It means working with your husband, if that and getting them onto your side. And it means, especially when you've got older children, training them. And my kids learned that there was a certain couch I was sitting on. And if I was sitting on that couch, it meant mommy was busy. And mommy wasn't always going to be busy, but the running joke in the family was that if it didn't fall fire or unconsciousness or blood on the carpet, then don't bother me.
Those are terrific tips and great ideas. And you're right. I think finding the time, if it's important to you, whatever is important to us, we do make time for it, don't we? And if you've got that story inside of you that's just, begging to be released, you've got to make the time for it.
Yeah. And we have a choice. We can pick up our phone once again and spend half an hour scrolling through Instagram, or we can put that phone in another room. That's what I put my phone in another room when I'm writing, because otherwise when I get stuck at all, that temptation to pick the phone up and then an hour is gone. Like, what happened? I don't even remember anything I scrolled past. Nothing. But I just wasted an hour. So, yeah, you have a choice. And how are you going to spend your time?
That's true. There are tricks that you can do, things that you can do. Thank you, Sarah. Fantastic advice from the wonderful, best-selling, prolific author, Sarah Sundin. Thanks for joining me today. And Midnight on the Scottish Shore releases February 4th, so it's available for pre-order right now. And can folks sign up for your newsletter at your website?
Absolutely. Please do.
And that's at sarahsundin.com. And she's on Facebook and X and Instagram, so be sure and look her up because she loves to hear from readers. So let her know what you think of Midnight on the Scottish Shore. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Wow, wasn't that wonderful to listen to Sarah Sundin talk about her new book, Midnight on the Scottish Shore. It sounds fascinating, and I love to talk to her about her research and her inspiration. And I hope that you've been inspired to keep going on your writing journey. Like she said, if it's important to you, you will make the time for it and overcome those obstacles, because someone out there needs to read your story. So remember that. Try and write something every day. Set aside your phone if you have to and communicate with family members, but make a way. You can do it. And until next time, God bless.